Welcome to Reno, Nevada. This here is called West Street Plaza, right at the western outskirts of town. Right along the Truckee River here, we got Wingfield Park. That's named after George Wingfield. He was the richest man in Nevada. He owned the old 1915 National Bank right up at Virginia Street. Here's our Truckee River. So today we're going to head up this way, up West Street, and I'll show you all the great old relics that are still here. That's kind of amazing. Anyway, this whole section of town, this was the residential area, kind of offset from the commercial area, out this way by Virginia and Center Streets. We're going to walk all the way up West Street to Commercial Row and see what we can find. Like our old church here I'll tell you about. This is the Colonial building. But first we'll start here at this Hendrickson Butler building on the corner. Our first building, First and Roll Street here, is the old Crider building, built in 1936 by Rex Arlo Crider. Mr. Crider was a chiropractor from Iowa. He moved to Reno in 1915, had a few locations around town, finally moved up to this spot in 1936. It had a two-story brick structure, and Crider and his wife lived on the second floor, and the ground level was used for his chiropractic office and rented out for retail. In 1940, the Mar Beauty Salon occupied the ground floor. It used to say Crider right along the parapet roofline there. In 1944, renamed the Hazel Smart Close Beauty Salon, then rebranded later as Paradise Station. Today, it's a Hendrickson Butler commercial furniture showroom. In the second floor there, and on the left, the bottom was Cafe Capello. I think of the ground floor today is occupied by our bar cafe. Across the street, this structure here, this is the 1947 West Wing expansion of the Truckee Lane building. Anyway, this whole section of town used to consist of wood-framed houses, irrigation ditch, a fence, a little rough wagon road running along the riverfront. So our original Truckee Lane building, that used to be on the left. It started out as Hughes Porter in 1941. Two-story structure, 6 storefronts on the ground level, offices on the second floor. The existing 3-story structure on the right we have today, that was added in 1947. 2 new storefronts and more offices above. And finally, to the right of that's a 4-story structure that featured 2 more storefronts and 12 apartments up above. Got an international style of architecture, rectilinear form, horizontal bands along the window openings. Hosted lots of different businesses, a chiropractor, hypnotist, attorneys, florist, beauty shop, insurance, and Lockhart architects. Anyway, in 1976, the city took over the old 2-story building on the left, ripped it down, and now it's part of the West Street Plaza Park. Cafe Capello, that's on the ground floor. That used to be over at the Crider Hendrickson building we just looked at. Across the street again on the north side of First, this is the First United Methodist Church, completed in 1926 as a Methodist Episcopal Church. This is the first poured concrete structure in all of Reno. You look closely along the edge and you see all the horizontal striping on the building. It shows the differentiation of the concrete layers when they were poured. It's a 3-story period revival cathedral, Gothic revival design. Inside is a floor-to-ceiling stained glass window that was installed in 1942. And at the entrance we have this graceful Gothic arch, Corinthian pilasters running along the sides there. The bell tower is 75 feet tall, home to the church bell in the original 1871 wood-frame church that sat at the block down the street, Sierra Street. Anyway, it's 2,000 pounds, 40 inches in diameter, hanging 60 feet above the ground. The parish house here, that was connecting wings they were at in 1940. So on the other side of West Street, across from the church, this is the old Colonial Apartment building, built in 1907. So back in 1890, this was the site of 2 private wood-framed homes. And they were torn down. Colonial, that was the first large apartment building in Reno, advertised to both travelers and long-term residents alike. Colonial revival style, classic elements of columns, brick and stone, brackets. 160 rooms divided into 48 furnished apartments. So each apartment had hardwood floors, new Murphy-style beds along the wall, marble steps and columns, even had an elevator. 1920s, the east wing was erected. 1950s, it began catering to elderly adults and became somewhat like a retirement home. Anyway, simple living arrangements, walking distance to the River Walk during the decades, also known as the Ross Manor and then the Weston. Anyway, today it's undergoing some type of renovation, probably being updated for apartments. And then over here next door, little row of businesses here. At first we have the Crafted Pallet, sort of an art cafe. You can sit here and paint, have some cocktails, a few snacks, private parties too. The next at 132 West, it's a 5-star saloon. That opened in 1971. It's the longest running gay bar in Nevada. Voted best gay hangout in northern Nevada. Anyway, Friday, Saturday turns into a hot dance club with local drag queens. And next to the 5-star at 138 West Street, little brick building here. This was once the office of QS Wong, Chinese herb specialist, health practitioner. Amazing success story of this guy, overcoming decades of racial prejudice against the Chinese of old Reno. Anyway, today at Sabrinas West Street Kitchen, family owned, little cozy eatery here. And finally we have our West Street Market. Right up here, in the old days, this was the Hudson Essex dealership and fix-it shop. Opened in 1927 by W.J. Hackett. And he was one of Reno's most prominent band directors and musical figures. Anyway, the sales operation for the cars, they're displayed up front. We had 4-door sedans and selling just for $795. And the service department, that's in the back. So new owners took over in 1932. We moved out in the 1940s, and our building turned into a sporting goods shop, a recording studio, offices for the Comtock Hotel and Casino in 1982 to 2000, then a beauty salon and a small nightclub, and renovated in 2008 for our West Street Market we have today. Anyway, today it's a popular hub for good food, good company, good community vibes. Lots of organic, vegan, gluten-free, local food suppliers. Up ahead, the brick building here on the corner, that's the old Senator Hotel. And here's the front of the Senator Hotel, corner of West and 2nd Street. It's one of the oldest commercial buildings in old Reno, built in 1907 by the Italian immigrant Pietro Saturno. Anyway, originally this was supposed to be a modern theater playhouse, but the plans changed. And instead we have this 3-story brick structure, apartment rentals with shared bathrooms on the 2nd level, 6 commercial storefronts on the 1st level. Anyway, used to have a row of lovely trees. Anyway, they're flanked in the west side on the corner there. In the bottom level, it housed several businesses throughout the decades. Got a laundry, plumbers, grocers, saloons, cafes, some random small businesses. 1910 is the home of the Old Homestead Bakery, serving lunch and pastries daily. 1920 on the corner, that was a ravioli factory. Also sold homemade tamales. In 1926, we had the Food Shop Cafe in the center and the grocers on the corner. Here's a 1940 view looking west down 2nd Street. Typewriter business machines on the corner, the cleaners, entrance to the Senator Hotel. On the corner, a grocer. And across the street, that's the Savior's building. That later became the Comstock. And way out in the distance is the St. Thomas Aquinas Cathedral. Here's our final look in 1950s, the old Senator Hotel sign, Lindell's Coffee Shop and Benny's Food Shop on the corner, as owned by Ben Ferrari Jr. Across the street here, this is our H.E. Saviors and Son building. I think built around 1920. This is home of the Westinghouse Appliance Store and the Saviors Paint Store. Anyway, replaced by the Comstock Hotel and Casino in 1977. Kept the same bottom levels, but added all those 14 floors up on the top there. Sort of a modernist architectural style, defined by innovative uses of glass, steel, and concrete. Minimalism and a philosophy of form versus function. So we end up with this sort of boring structure. 160 hotel rooms, 325 slot machines. Anyway, the Comstock is run by mobsters, caught up in illegal gambling, money laundering, drug running. Even had an escort prostitution service from Heidi Fleiss. So it lost its license, closed down in 2000, and became short-term rentals for more drug addicts and lots of crime. Reconstructed in 2006, opened as the residences at Riverwalk Towers. And we got private balconies, kitchen, living room. Got in-unit laundry, rooftop pool, spa, parking garage. Anyway, you get a 2-bedroom for about $450,000. First floors of the casino, they're all boarded up still. I think it's pretty shady out here too. Anyway, back to 2nd Street, that's across from the Senator. This is the Olympic Motel, built in 1960 for the Olympic Games at Lake Tahoe. Sort of mom and pop style, 2 stories, wraps around the corner there. Used to be painted red, had a bright neon sign in front of the offices. Anyway, sort of run down today. I'm not really sure what's going on here. And next door of West Street is the old Windsor Hotel, 214 West Street. That was built in 1922, three-story brick structure. In 2022, two men got in a fight in the lobby. The first guy, he stabbed the other guy, and the police responded, and they found the perpetrator hiding on the third floor. Real nice. Anyway, today it's a 53-room apartment complex. Goes way back to the alley, so it's kind of long, rectangular shape, and closed up today. But you could buy it for the low cost of $2 million. And next door to the Windsor, 232 West Street. This is the West Street Flats. Multi-family apartments that opened in 2011 in the heart of the entertainment district in downtown Reno. Anyway, 1950s, it was the Colonial Motor Inn. Heated pool, sun patio, elevators. Got 3 stories, parking underneath, office cafe up front, the old giant neon sign, sort of shaped like a shield. Even had a cozy pool in the courtyard. Except for the paint job, our West Street Flats pretty much looks the same as it did back in the heydays. You can get a 2-bedroom apartment here for about $1,700 per month. And across the street again, this parking lot here, nothing here, but it used to be a really cool place. It's called Chisums Ice Cream Factory, 247 West Street. So in the 1880s, the Chisum family, they owned a cattle ranch about a half-mile west of here. Operated a business called the Chisum Creamery. Had 4 boys, including John. He became known as Nevada's leading dairyman. And John's brother, Edward, he spun off from the family business, started his own ice cream production company, a one-man business. He delivers product by horse and carriage, and wagon. Anyway, began selling to outlets like the Wilson Drug Company. Anyway, he soon expanded his business, a large production building, opened his main factory here in 1918. In 1942, he expanded to 65,000 square feet. He produced 175 gallons of ice cream every hour. He even started selling 7-Up soda. So Edward, he died in 1956. And the building was taken over by his wife and daughter, and they sold it to Carnation in 1960. And eventually, that was bought by Snapple in 2013 and closed down and razed. And now we just have our little parking lot here. So we approached the end of West Street at Commercial Row. Got the El Dorado and the Silver Legacy. 3rd Street Flats over here. This guy here, the Townsite Motel. We got a real famous building right here. It's called the Coma building, grocery store, built in 1931. Beautiful little brick building here. Anyway, that's kind of all that's left of our Commercial Row relics. All abandoned right now and available. It says right up there, Coma, 1931. Anyway, that's pretty fun. That's everything we have on West Street here. Coming up from the river and down that way. We're going to head further up this way, check out some more old relics and things that aren't here anymore. Anyway, hope you liked that video. Reno, great place to visit. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.